Welcome, everybody. We'll continue this book, An Open-Hearted Life. This time we will do the last printed chapter in the book. Okay? Next time we'll do the chapter that the publisher took out of the book because they thought it was too related to current events. In other words, religion isn't supposed to apply to your life. No, that so that chapter, this book really focuses on compassion, and that last chapter talks about things that we can do in society to put our compassion out there, working, to stop climate change, doing things for the underprivileged, refugees, all this kind of stuff. And it was interesting that the publisher in UK thought, too political. I don't know how that's political because I see it as ethical and having to do with compassion. Yeah, it's really a pity that these kinds of things get politicized in this country, but I don't think they have to be political. So let's start with a little bit of silent meditation, and then we will look at the last chapter in An Open-Hearted Life. So let's remember our motivation, that we're looking at how to develop an open-hearted life so that we can cultivate compassion for each and every living being, and then motivated by that compassion, generate bodhicitta and strive for full awakening in order to put our compassion into practice by benefiting others. And so with this long-term intention, we'll share transformative methods for compassionate living from a clinical psychologist and a Buddhist nun. That's the subtitle of the book. So I must say, working on this book with Russell, it was a really wonderful thing to do. He's so open-minded and he really cares about other living beings. And so he's not quite a Buddhist, but he's also not a Buddhist, because what he cares about most is compassion, yeah, and not what he labels himself. So we had so many meeting points, And we really enlarged each other's perspectives by working together on the book. So the last chapter is, he put it together, but basically it's a summation of the title of the chapter is Bringing Compassion into Every Moment. So this last chapter is a summation of, what we have talked about in the book and ways to put it into practice in our daily life. Yeah, because our spiritual development isn't just something to do on Sunday morning or to do on a meditation cushion. We want it to show in how we live our life. Yeah, because otherwise, if it's just something we do on the cushion, what use is it? Well, we might feel better, but I'm developing compassion for all sentient beings so that I'll feel better. And I don't really care about how they feel. you know, that's not going to get anywhere. Okay, so chapter 69, Bringing Compassion into Every Moment. In closing, we'd like to point out the importance of each moment. Every moment presents us with an opportunity to bring compassion into our lives and to give it to others. So this is important because we hear about compassion and we think, oh yeah, I want to develop it. I should really act on it. Let's see, my schedule's really full this week. My life is so busy with things with my family and social engagements and work. I really admire this. I want to do it, and I'll do it after, when my life slows down a little bit. Okay. And, what this sentence is saying is we don't need to wait until our life slows down to practice and transform our minds. We start doing it right now in whatever big or small way we can, especially by uh, continuing to come back to our motivation again and again and again. It's like Dharma practice. Some people say, oh yeah, I really want to do more Dharma practice, but yeah, I have my children's things, I have my work, I have this and that. And, when I get old and retire, then I'll do Dharma practice. And this was exactly the way they thought in ancient India, that your your youth was for learning, then after that comes for having a family, supporting your family, and then when you're old and decrepit, that's when you generate spiritual qualities. I, you know, that sounds practical from a ridiculous point of view. Yeah, because while we have every moment, let's use it. Yeah. And waiting for the ideal time to develop compassion. Right now, I'm angry at so many people, I can't develop compassion now. This is exactly the time you need it. Okay. Right now, my life is so stressful, I can't practice the Dharma now. This is the time you need to you need to do it, not put these things off for the perfect circumstances. Yeah, we would all really like perfect circumstances, wouldn't we? Yeah, but samsara doesn't give them to us. Okay. Every moment presents us with an opportunity to bring compassion into our lives and to give it to others. Every time we think a compassionate thought, direct kindness towards another person, relate warmly to ourselves and others, or bring to mind something that inspires our compassionate nature, we plant and nurture the seeds in our minds that will eventually grow into a garden of kindness and compassion. So there's a list of different things we can do in our life to generate compassion. Yeah. We and only we have the power to transform our lives. Actually, I was going to look on Craigslist and see if somebody else could do my meditation practice for me, because it would just make my life so much easier. I mean, I have so much admin work, so many emails. If somebody else could do my practice, that would be really good. Yeah. You think anybody on Craigslist? Yeah. Okay. So we and only we have the power to transform our lives. The key is to continually find ways to bring compassion into everyday life. Here are a few final suggestions for doing this. Okay, so first one, as often as possible, take a moment to connect with your compassionate motivation. Yeah, so that's what we do at the Abbey throughout the day, before all activities. We generate a bodhicitta motivation. If you're working, then you just tie it uh, to something that happens regularly throughout the day, like every time your phone vibrates or rings, before you check the text or check the phone call, for a moment, come back to compassion, then do that. If you're driving, every time you stop at a red light, instead of getting impatient, remember your compassion motivation. So, these things are quite helpful. Seek and create opportunities to cooperate and act in sync with others. One research study showed that simply tapping our fingers in time with another person leads to increased compassion for that person. Interesting, isn't it? Spiritual communities have long used such methods to enhance the feeling of community, such as chanting and bowing together. Yeah, so this suggestion is do things with other people. Yeah, I mean, if even you're tapping your fingers together can increase the feeling of connectedness and thus the feeling of compassion. Just, helping wash dishes as a team. Yeah. Unloading all the musical instruments that arrived on Thursday as a team. Doing things like this, working in the forest as a team. Anytime we're doing things with other people, we're creating that feeling of community, and then the other people in that small team or community, can help each other, have compassion for each other, and then that helps us grow in our compassion, which we can then take to bigger groups. Okay. Whereas, if we're always just in our room, tapping our finger alone, yeah, then, it doesn't have the same effect. And so this is also why it's important in spiritual communities that people attend teachings together, that they do chanting together, they do meditation together, they share discussions together, they, do all the work around the community together. Yeah. If you find yourself caught up in self-pity, self-criticism, or other thinking that keeps you locked in a state of threat or self-centeredness, gently redirect your attention to helping others. Okay, so earlier in the book, Russell talked about different systems that we have, and one was the threat system, when we feel threatened either physically or socially or emotionally, and how we just, we lock ourselves inside, you know, and limit ourselves from really connecting from the heart with other living beings. So here, if we find ourselves in that state, then, oh, what are other people going to think about me? I'm nervous, I'm scared. Then instead of just really getting into that, to, gently redirect your attention to helping others. So shift your attention. When you find that you're ruminating and going round and around and around and around about what some horrible person did to you that was the most important thing in the world today, because you texted them and they didn't respond, and the world's going to come to an end because this is my problem. Don't let the mind get stuck in that. Just notice it's happening. Shift your attention to something else. The next one, volunteer. Yes. So, there's so many ways to volunteer. You see your neighbor taking out the garbage, you go and help them. You do something at a homeless center, at a refugee center. When I was in high school, I volunteered at the local hospital. This was a real educational experience for me. And in college, I volunteered at a home for teenage girls who had gotten in trouble with the law. That was also it educated me, but it enabled me to, give something to other people. And looking back at the mental state I was in college, that was good for me because I wasn't in a fantastic mental stage then, like most people of that age. When you were, your your teens and early 20s, with the exception of somebody here. No, she's an old lady compared to you. She's all of 30 something, you don't even come close. You may be taller, but she's older. That's what I say to my brother too when I look at him. Much taller than me. So just doing something for others, with others, is really healing for us. And volunteering's fun, and so many groups depend on volunteers. Here at the Abbey, we depend on volunteers. But so many organizations in town do as well. Do your best to make sure your own needs are met, starting with giving your body what it needs: nutritious food, adequate sleep, and regular exercise. Okay, so making sure our own needs are met. It says needs, it doesn't say wants. Okay, because our list of wants is endless. Okay, here this is, what does our body need? And so we have a responsibility to keep ourselves healthy so that we can be a benefit to others. Okay, so having compassion does not mean that we neglect our own health. That we let ourselves, we don't go to the doctor because we're practicing to bear suffering. Others, practicing to bear suffering so we can create compassion for other people who suffer. No. Okay, that's not taking care of ourselves. So, we have to eat properly. Notice it says nutritious food. It doesn't say junk food. It doesn't say only the food I like. But, to really try and eat, a balanced diet with lots of fruits and vegetables, some carbs, protein, and skip the addictive sweets. Yeah, those are not good for us. Adequate sleep. Okay, it doesn't say so much sleep that I'm forever caught up on all the sleep I've never had my whole life. Okay, because then you might wind up becoming Rip Van Winkle at the amount of sleep that you think you need. So what we need to function, it doesn't mean we need to sleep as long as we want every night. People's bodies are different. We have to see, what our body needs. But I know for myself, you know, if I didn't use an alarm clock to get up, I would sleep way past what my body actually needs. Because there's many ways in which I can see that, I can, function with a little bit less sleep, and I'm perfectly okay. You know, if it gets to where I'm falling asleep in the middle of a sentence, then it's another thing. Okay. But maybe I could say I'm just practicing for doing that when I'm old. Okay. And regular exercise. Okay. So regular exercise, that means couch potatoes, getting up and taking walks. Yeah. Doing something physical. Yeah. I know that typing on the computer is a real physical activity that uses up a lot of calories and energy, but it only strengthens your finger muscles. The rest of your body needs good exercise. Okay, so it's important to get exercise. Okay, moderate exercise. Yeah, not where you are exercising all day long. Yeah, safe exercising. We had somebody liking to jog. They were jogging on Spring Valley Road at night. Yeah, we're lucky that they didn't wind up in the ER. That road is not very wide, and a car in the dark easily could have hit them. Even in the daytime, that road, with the curves and everything. So we have to exercise in a safe way, yeah, and a proper amount, not all day long, and then collapse because we're exhausted the next day. Okay, so just things in moderation. Okay, next one. Find ways to help yourself feel safe, particularly when threat emotions arise. Studies show that giving support to others helps to reduce feelings of threat and corresponding threat activation in the brain. Isn't that interesting? Yeah, that when you give support to others, yeah, it calms our own feelings of threat. Yeah, that makes sense, because when you're doing something for others, you have to take the focus off of yourself. Yeah. And so, the stress, the self recrimination, the worry about what other people think about us, those kind of threat emotions, when we, give support to others, those things are automatically getting reduced. One of my favorite studies, this is Russell speaking, looked at the relationship between feeling social threat, for example, fear of being embarrassed, and helpful behavior, the relationship between social threat and helpful behavior. When people feel socially threatened, do I belong? Do people like me? Do I fit in? Are they biased against me? Do I, maybe I should leave, all of that kind of stuff. When people feel socially threatened, their likelihood of behaving altruistically often disappears. Of course, because we're just meditating on me, I, my, and mine. Yeah. But this effect, yeah, was erased in participants who held a teddy bear. Isn't that interesting? When you feel socially threatened to hold a teddy bear. I think, a stuffed walrus will do, a stuffed giraffe, any kind of stuffed animal, okay? I didn't say taxidermy animal, stuffed animal, okay? It's reaching out to something outside of us, you know? And so at the Abbey a while ago, we started some teachings given by Buddha Bear. And it was very interesting. Some of the community loved it. Yeah. Geshe Dadal joined right in, when we were just chanting Namo Amitofo and playing around. Geshe-la was there. He had a stuffed owl and he was giving everybody blessings on the head with, he just joined right in. Okay. Other people in the community went, these people are nuts. Yeah. Why are they chanting a Buddhist mantra and holding stuffed animals? Yeah. Well, some people thought it was great because many people started sending us stuffed animals. Yeah. We were getting a lot of stuffed animals. Yeah. And so we began to give some of them away. We gave Perseverance Prairie Dog to our friends in the Theravada tradition in Seattle. Yeah, so Perseverance Prairie Dog now has a Theravada robe that she wears. Yeah, and we gave, we gave Serenity Sloth, and who else? There was another one to some Chinese nuns in Malaysia, and Serenity Sloth is now wearing a Chinese robe. And we gave two of them. We gave the dolphin, darling dolphin or diligent dolphin, and one other one to some friends in Hong Kong. And they are now relaxing in lounge chairs. That was not a monastery, okay? But the kids liked it and the parents liked it too. Okay. Okay, so this effect was erased in participants who held a teddy bear. So find ways to soothe yourself and help yourself feel safe and use them. Okay. And the next, practice relating to yourself and others with warmth. So just give people the benefit of the doubt. Yeah. Don't have your MO of how you look at people be with one of suspicion. Are these people safe? Are these people kind? Are they going to like me? If that's the lens through which you see sentient beings, your life is not going to be very happy. And, very often we have that kind of lens, so we have to notice it. And then, what I come back to, which is so effective, is contemplating the kindness of other sentient beings and how my whole life depends on other living beings. And if I think about that, then, even I'm in a crowded airport or, wherever I'm traveling, I feel relaxed. I'm fine. Yeah. Because I'm thinking these, are sentient beings who have been kind to me in the past and will be kind to me in the future, and make that the lens. Yeah. Okay. If you find yourself thinking unhelpful thoughts, don't try to push them out of your mind. Instead, try to let those thoughts go, gently shifting your attention to more helpful, compassionate ways of thinking. Yeah. So it's, if you tell yourself very harshly, don't think of a pink elephant, what are you thinking about? Pink elephant. So if you say, oh, this thought is terrible, get this thought out of my mind, you're giving it a lot of power. Whereas if you just notice, this is useless. Yeah. I find it's very helpful to just say to myself, this way of thinking is useless. Okay. And then shift the mind to another way of thinking. Whenever you find yourself beginning to judge, try instead to understand. So when we're in a conversation with people and we start to judge them, why are they thinking like this? Why are they saying that? Yeah. Why are they asking me to solve their problems? Can't they manage their own? Any kind of judgment thought. Um, you know, Again, try and understand where that person's coming from. Use it as an activity to expand your own understanding and awareness of life on the planet. In other words, we don't have to agree with what everybody says, but it's interesting to hear all the various things that people think and to ask them, why they think that. And I find it fascinating, how do different people look at the world? Huh? And then when you find out about their background, it can be really interesting too. When you know about what they've experienced in life, it's like, okay, that's why, and then it's very helpful. Okay. Rather than continuing to beat yourself up for past mistakes and transgressions, focus your attention on finding ways to do better. So, this is why, as monastics, every 2 weeks we confess and restore our precepts, So, instead of like, oh, I broke a precept, and then you just beat up on yourself, which does absolutely no good. um, you know, we tell others and we drop it. We tell others, we do some purification, and then we get on with better things in our life rather than deprecating ourselves, telling ourselves we aren't good enough. We should do more. If only I were, again, these ways of thinkings that we can be so habituated with that we don't even realize we're thinking like that. If we can notice them and then just put them down and shift the mind to something more interesting. Yeah, because really contemplating our own problems and how lousy we are isn't very interesting, is it? Especially when you rerun that video every single day, it's really quite boring. Okay, so focus your attention on finding ways to do better. Okay, next is practice pausing and slowing things down. That can be really useful. especially if you're having a discussion with somebody where you can see maybe you're, you know, something is going on, instead of building on each other's thoughts, there's some antagonism or misunderstanding. So, this thing of just slowing things down, we don't have to figure this all out right now. These kinds of things can be very, very helpful instead of, I've got to rush to do this. Quick, we've got to make a decision. Yeah. Okay, then engage in regular practice that helps you make friends with yourself. Okay, so enjoy our own company. Yeah, do things with people, but also do things alone too. So we enjoy our own company. Yeah, and some people find it very scary to be alone. Yeah, but we don't need to be afraid of ourselves. I mean, we're actually quite interesting people. And, I think once you really get into the Dharma, you're never actually bored. Mhm. Okay, make time daily to reconnect with your values with and a sense of meaning in your life. So that too is very important, and that's we do with our spiritual practice, doing some practice every morning, connecting with our values, connecting with the meaning of our life, connecting with the kind of person that we want to be in, that day and after that. Seek and frequently bring to mind things that inspire you to be compassionate. So these can be stories, images, poems, songs, quotes, and memories of times that you have acted, being or been treated with and observed compassion. So just things that help you. Yeah. This morning I was looking at the video. We received a video from a temple in Taiwan that is building a huge 7-story temple complex, and they're doing the beam raising. So this was a huge beam that they're putting on the very top of their temple. Yeah. And it shows it's a big thing in Chinese culture. So there were lots of people there. They had this enormous, you could see really heavy beam, down at the ground, and then they were going to lift it up. And at one point, I skipped some of the stuff, but at one point I was stopping, and they started chanting Namo Quan Shiyan Pusa, Namo Taipei Quan Shiyan Pusa. So I pay homage to the compassionate Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva. Okay. And that chant, I started crying there in front of my computer this morning and just chanting along with that. There's something about that, not just doing it myself, but doing it with a group of people. And, that's exactly what happens to me. It nurtures that feeling of compassion. So find what, really. I'm not saying you have to cry in front of the computer to have compassion. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, I know you will. Yeah, okay. Yes. Yeah, there's a few people here, So you'll cry in front of the trees. Yeah, and you'll cry in front of the computer. Okay, and yeah, you'll cry in front of the bread dough. And you'll cry in front of the schedule. Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, and poor Venerable Tarpa will really cry in front of the thing with the well in the yard. if you didn't notice the two enormous trucks out in the garden, we have to redo our well, and the old well didn't cooperate, so the new well is gonna be dug. Yeah. No, you can't vow that, Venerable Tarpa. We depend on you. You're breaking it again. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Having wells drilled is not as easy as it seems, and finding the kind of water that is potable, not so easy. Anyway, if you want to develop compassion, talk to her after lunch. Okay. And she'll tell you the whole sob story about our well. Okay. Be creative in applying compassion to new areas of your life. So as you go through the day, ask, how can I bring compassion into this moment? Yeah. So you're in the grocery store. How can you bring compassion into the moment? Yeah. Well, there might be a mom or a dad with little kids. Yeah. And the kids are running around, or the kids are impatient. And, you start to make friends with the kids. Sometimes the kids are so shocked by a stranger talking to them that whatever they were fussing about, they stop. It's like, yeah, you know. And then you convince them that you're not dangerous, and that can be helpful. Showing some compassion for the people who work in this store. My goodness, yeah. The people who stock the shelves, who do the checkout, who help you when you're supposed to be doing do it your own checkout, and you still need a checkout clerk to help you. There's so many ways to show compassion. When you're driving on the highway and somebody wants to change lanes, let them go in front of you. Some people are like so resistant to that. I can't let one person go in front of me. I'll speed up so that even though they have their blinker on, they can't go in front. Just relax, You're delayed by what, 3 yards or something? Okay. Commit to taking responsibility for your own emotions and needs, and refrain from blaming others for your own internal experiences. Why not? They're the cause of my problem. I'm not blaming them. I'm just stating a fact. Yeah, that it's all their fault, and I am innocent. Right? Isn't that what we think compassion is? I'm going to make them accountable, and I hope they burn it. Yeah? That's not compassion for ourselves. That's anger and hatred. Yeah? And so when we want to blame others, catch ourselves, Because why are we having a certain problem? It's a result of our own karmic actions. Yeah. Why is somebody being uncooperative? Well, sometime in the past, we've been uncooperative. Why is somebody criticizing? Because in the past, I've criticized. And also, before you start getting angry and defensive, really make sure that what the person is saying is a personal attack. Okay? what I find is very often people correct us, and we see being corrected as an attack on our integrity. When people correct us, they are merely stating a fact. That fact does not mean, we are inferior and they're insulting us. Okay. If I said I was going to do something and I forgot, and somebody says to me, "Oh, I was expecting you here at this time. You said you would come and you didn't." Why do I get defensive and annoyed? Yeah. They're just stating the fact that I will agree at. Yes, I said I was going to do that and I forgot and I didn't go. Why do I take that as a personal attack and an insult? Yeah, think about it. When somebody just states a fact, why do we go into threat mode? Yeah. Or somebody, you say something and someone else says, "I have a different opinion." Oh, uh, uh, I better defend myself more because my opinion is me. No, your opinion is not you, and somebody is just stating a fact that they have a different opinion. They're not saying, "You're a jerk," blah, blah, blah. Why are we taking it as a personal affront? Okay, so really be careful of those kinds of things. Yeah, yeah. In the debate system that the Tibetan monks practice, oh my goodness, they have very different views sometimes from each other. Yeah. And when they're debating, they will yell and scream and call each other names and all sorts of things. Yeah. They'll scream, what? They'll scream right in your face and say, "What are you, jerk? What are you saying that kind of stupid thing for?" Yeah. And they do this, and the purpose is, they're trying to really explore the meaning of the text, but they're also in that process learning, a little bit of humility that sometimes, you know, their ideas, other people want to debate their ideas, and they learn not to be so arrogant, also always thinking they're right. And they learn, okay, people shout and scream at you, and it doesn't have to be a personal attack. It's just what you do. Yeah. And I think, especially the debate system is in Tibet is practiced with the young monks. And I think this is really skillful, okay? Because young men have a lot of energy. And, as the monks can't play baseball and football and stuff like that. So they play debate. They study debate. And they get a lot of exercise. Yeah. And they start in the evening and they go until sometimes early in the morning. Okay, get ready. We'll practice with you before you go. Why do you think like that? You're wrong. Don't you clap in my face. Okay. Uh, okay, next is frequently remind yourself of the many ways your life is positively impacted by the kindness of others, that everything that makes your way of life possible occurs as a result of the efforts of other beings. And this is so true, and it's something we take for granted. But when you really do that meditation on the kindness of others, looking at every single thing you have, every skill you have, every bit of knowledge you have, it all comes because other people taught us, or the other people gave us something, or made something. Yeah. So that really do some serious meditation on that repeatedly. It really changes you. As often as possible, connect with empathy. Try and understand what others are feeling and how it makes sense that they are feeling this way. Direct empathy towards yourself too. Okay, so try to understand what others are feeling. Doesn't mean you have to agree, it doesn't mean judge it. You just understand. And and how it might make sense that they are feeling this way. If you have background information, what situation were they in? What kind of example did they see in their family of how to handle different situations? When you understand something about the background of the person, then very often what they're doing makes sense to you. Yeah. Okay, and finally, allow yourself to rejoice in your growing capacity for compassion. So rejoice in our own virtue. Yeah, that's really important. Give yourself a pat on the back. That doesn't mean you're the best one in the universe, but we have to rejoice at our own and others' virtue and the progress we're making. Okay, if you give yourself over to compassion, compassion will give you back a life filled with good relationships, peace, confidence, and joy. When we learn to let go of the constant need to prop up our egos at every turn, we can engage in life directly and meaningfully, participating fully in our activities and actively engaging in our relationships. I love that first phrase. When we learn to let go of the constant need to prop up our egos at every turn. It takes so much energy to do that, doesn't it? Keeping on propping up this ego, making sure I look good, making sure people treat me the way I want them to, telling them when they don't and how they can improve. It's really not very much fun. So why do we spend so much time defending and propping up our egos when we aren't very happy doing it? Okay. From the bottom of our hearts, we want to welcome you to the community of people. This is the closing sentence of the book. From the bottom of our hearts, we, Russell and me, want to welcome you to the community of people who for thousands of years have used the power of compassion to transform their lives and the world. You are in good company. Okay, so the Tibetans have a practice, even though this isn't really the last chapter, it is the last chapter. So the thing is, you read a little bit from the beginning of the book. It symbolizes that you're again starting to do this virtuous activity, and that you're not finishing it. So it means we have to meet again in the future and do that. Western psychology, this is the preface, has focused on the scientific study of the mind and to a large extent the individual. It has concentrated on mental health problems, aggression, assertiveness, self-esteem, how to compete better in the world, how to have better bodies and better sex. In fact, there is increasing evidence that over the last 30 years, we have become more self-focused, grasping, and narcissistic, increasingly preoccupied with our sense of self and our self-presentations, whether in the real world of working or dating or via social media. We have, as the late Christopher Latch noted, been turned into theatrical performers riddled with self-criticism and shame, fearful of rejection as if our performance does not win the approval of others. Unfortunately, the consequence of our material wealth and do more, have more, be more attitudes is not always greater compassion, but increased risk of depression and anxiety, which are increasing in Western society, especially among younger cohorts. It's true, don't you think? Yeah, many people. Who wrote this? The preface? Russell and me. Yeah, no, he probably wrote it and I tweaked it. Yeah, this is more of a Russell thing, but definitely, he had to approve everything I wrote. I had to approve everything he wrote. Yeah, and we had different ideas sometimes, but it was okay. Yeah, I understood why he wanted to do certain things. He understood why I wanted to do. Yeah. Okay. So what happens when we turn this on its head so that it is not so much self-enhancement that is the key to happiness, but compassion, the wish to be open to the suffering of self and others, with a commitment to try to engage with it, alleviate, and prevent it? What happens when we see the suffering in ourselves and others not as something that has gone wrong or as an indicator of personal failure or weakness, but rather as a normal process of living that requires us to develop insight and courage? Due to this merit, may we soon attain the awakened state of Guru Buddha, that we may be able to liberate all sentient beings from their suffering. May the precious Bodhi mind, not yet born, arise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase for